When people think about Mario villains, they think of world-ending threats, dark prophecies, gods of chaos. But this villain? Most players laughed at him, wrote him off as a joke, and moved on. But what if I told you that Mario fans completely misread him? Because Francis isn't just a comic relief. Because he's one of the most honest villains Nintendo's ever written. And once you understand him, you can't unsee it. This Mario villain deserves more respect. Francis is remembered as the weird one, the otaku villain, the boss where you don't take seriously. And that reaction makes sense. He talks about dating sims, collects merchandise, lives in someone's basement. Not literally, but still. Either way, Nintendo wants you to laugh at him. But that's exactly why Francis works. Because Francis isn't always meant to scare you. He's meant to reflect something uncomfortable. Before we jump in, quick disclaimer. Everything in this video is based off my own interpretation of Super Paper Mario. This isn't confirmed canon, and Nintendo never spells any of this out directly. This is just my theory, mostly based on the game's dialogue, themes, and how Francis fits in with the story. So with that said, you don't have to agree with me. But I think once you see it this way, it could change how you view him. But anyways, without further ado, let's talk about Francis. Let's be honest, Francis doesn't look threatening. He's sweaty, awkward, desperate for approval. He's usually obsessed with fictional characters instead of real people, and he hides behind screens instead of facing the real world. So players treat him like a gag villain, a rarity, someone who exists purely for humor. But here's the thing most players miss. Francis isn't funny because he's ridiculous. Francis is funny because he's real. He represents a kind of loneliness Nintendo almost never talks about. Francis doesn't want to rule the world. He doesn't want power. He doesn't even want revenge. Francis wants escape. His obsession with animated fictional worlds isn't about obsession, it's about safety. Because in fiction, he feels valued. In fiction, characters don't reject him. In fiction, love feels attainable. The real world? That's where he feels invisible. Although he's not a villain for Count Black, he does have his purpose. And here's the detail that gets overlooked. Here's where things get tragic for Francis. When Francis is defeated, he doesn't really rage. He doesn't curse Mario. He doesn't threaten revenge. He panics, he begs, he spirals, he talks about how the real world doesn't want him. That's not villain dialogue, that's fear. Francis realizes that once the fantasy ends, he has to go back being alone. And that moment, that's why he sticks to players who pay attention. Super Paper Mario isn't just about destroying worlds. It's about people who've lost their place in them. Count Black lost love, Chung's lost purpose, Asasia lost agency, and Francis lost connection. He doesn't know how to exist hiding behind fiction. That's why he belongs in the story. He isn't a joke villain in the wrong game. He's a damaged person in a game about broken people. The irony is this: Francis wants to live in fictional worlds, but Super Paper Mario is a fictional world, and yet, even here, he's still unhappy. Because escapism doesn't fix the loneliness, it just delays it. That's why Francis hits harder as you get older. He isn't a villain you fear, he's a warning. Reminder of what happens when comfort replaces connection. Francis was never meant to be taken lightly. He was meant to be misread. And that's why so many players missed him. He isn't the strongest villain. He isn't the smartest. He isn't the most dangerous. But he might be the most honest. And that's why this Mario villain deserves more respect. So I want to ask you, did you see Francis as a joke? Or do you see him differently now? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, check out my other videos on Chunks and Count Black. And as always, please help me choose the next villain I cover. You can do so on the next community poll coming out soon, so make sure to keep an eye on them. Subscribe for more deep dives like this, because sometimes the villains we laugh at are the ones worth listening to the most.